murder. Yeah, yeah. Coming up next on Mental Health Matters with Marty, tomorrow's men today. Stay tuned. What's up, everybody? It's your boy, it's Marty Sellers, coming to you live and in living color right here. And I am your mental health hygienist, and we are so glad to see you on this terrific Tuesday on Mental Health Matters with Marty. How you doing out there? Hope you are doing well and that life is treating you well as we are trying to resurge into this thing called society and life. And looks like I have a visitor who's coming in with me today and everything. Are you saying hello? Say hi real quick. Say hi. 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 Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Okay, bye. Yes, we're a live show, so you never know what happens. Hey, we're home. You know, kids are out of school, trying to get them back in school, and this what happens on a live show. But today we want to talk about, listen, before we even go into that, let me remind you of this. She threw me all off. I'm all off, y'all. So I got my 5-year-old who's right here. This show, thank you, Daryl, is intended for educational purposes. It is an educational tool. We are not a substitute. Let me say that again. We are not a substitute for your mental health and wellness, but we are a supplement to that. So if you're experiencing any type of mental health or psychiatric emergency, please go to your nearest urgent care or dial 911. Again, we're a supplement, y'all, not a substitute, but hope you are doing well. How do you engage with us on this show? You engage with us by going to Mental Health Matters with Marty page or to our YouTube page with Marcel Media Group. That's how you engage with us. Those are the comments we shall see. If you're on my personal page, please jump over to Mental Health Matters with Marty, and then you can definitely see and engage with us there. But again, good people, how are you doing? How you living? How's everything going? We got rain here in Southern California. Can you believe it? We were excited. We got a little thunder. So we know that things are changing when we get rain in the middle of July in Southern California. But again, let's go on to today's topic. Today's topic is about tomorrow's men today. What's up, my man? How you feeling out there? Good to see you. That's none other than my man, LaDon, out there in holding it down in Michigan. Man, you know how we do it here. We got to have you back on the show here real soon. And congratulations on your 2-year survival from your stroke. And you know what? That's what we're talking about today. The health and wellness of men, especially Black men. LaDon is one of my brothers who was, like we Black men, had a stroke and still pressed his way to work, still did not go to the hospital or anything. And we have to do better on our health and wellness. Yes, Marty, my producer and I, we were talking about it. He says that, Marty, it seems like we do a lot of shows when it comes to talk about Black men, health, and wellness. Why is that? Because we are not taking care of ourselves. Again, we are not taking care of ourselves. Man, my brother, you know I got nothing but love for you. LaDon, definitely, you were telling us about how he neglected and did not take care of himself, how he did not pay attention to what his body was telling him, how he still had to press through, how we felt as men, especially black men, we feel we have to keep pressing. We feel we have to keep going on. We can never slow down. And as a result of that, we suffer through many healthcare crises. We suffer through many mental health crises that can be deterred, that can, we could stop the process of that. Again, 80%, did you know that 80% of strokes are preventable? Let me say that again. 80% of strokes are preventable. Let's look at some other things that are preventable. Our high blood pressure. We can prevent some of those things like high blood pressure. We can prevent some of these things like diabetes. We can prevent some of these things like obesity. We can prevent some of these things like mental anxiety and depression. And how do we do that? We have to stop the stinking thinking. Too many of us, especially as men, are secretly suffering in silence in the shadow of shame, and we refuse to speak up. We refuse to speak out. Therefore, we are refusing to live our best life. We can't even enjoy our lives because we don't know how to live our lives. That's what we're talking about today, and that's what I'm so glad about. Let me share with some statistics that I want to share with you before we bring on he's not a guest, he's my homie, that's my boy, that's my ride or die, because he's doing the great work, what he's doing. So black men are 30% more likely to die from heart disease. Black men are 60% more likely to die from a stroke. That's right. Hashtag stop the stinking thinking. Black men are 70%, 75% less likely to have healthcare insurance. Black men are 9 times more likely to die from AIDS. Black men are 30%, 36% of we as black men are considered to be obese. That's a problem. And then those of us who even have insurance, it says those who are insured are 50% less likely to contact their doctor once a year. We won't even go into the statistics about those of us who see a therapist like myself or a life coach, because we have the taboo that therapy and getting help are for crazy people. Well, I'm here to tell you, you're not crazy for seeking help. You're actually sane. You're insane for continuing to do the same negative patterns and expecting a different result. We cannot continue in this insanity. This past Friday night, I have a group of young men that I work with. Love these young men to death. And we had an amazing time. And one of the topics we talked about was, what is your definition of a man? And I asked them my simple question I ask in therapy all the time. Who are you? Because your greatness and definition about manhood centers around what you believe about yourself and who you know you are. So we can't even properly define manhood until we define who we are. So again, please like and share this, invite people into this conversation, put some people in the chat, invite them into this amazing conversation. Says, oh no, it's not. So therapy is a godsend. Amen. I appreciate that. Therapy helped me. And as it helped me, I'm trying to help others. So I'm so glad to have back on the show. He's no stranger. We do a Thursday night, at least once a month, Instagram live show. Korey, we got to double book that and start doing it twice a month. But this brother has an amazing nonprofit. His whole purpose is helping men grow. And his nonprofit, Tomorrow's Man. And I'm so glad to have back with me on this show none other than the esteemed man himself, Korey Morris.
Hey,
What's good, Korey? I'm well, man.
It's
How
going
you doing?
all right, man. I'm listening to you. I was tuned in. I felt like I was one of your listeners, and but definitely some good words of encouragement to some of our men out there. So Let's
Most
get
definitely, man.
going.
I wanted to kind of to talk about some of these statistics, what we're showing out there, because
Mhm.
we don't talk enough. And I don't care. I know this is your heart too, to
Mhm.
tell men, tell
Yeah.
black men, tell brown men, tell all men of color. Listen,
Mhm.
we are much better than what society has portrayed us as one, and we have to take accountability and responsibility for our own health and wellness.
Mhm. Mhm.
Most
I
definitely.
think we have
Korey,
so many different. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
go ahead. No, I was going to say, tell us who you are and go into your comment. Was you're going to say that again?
Right. I'm Korey Morris, the founder and CEO of Tomorrow's Men. I have a podcast called Brother to
Yes.
Brother Show. And also, I have a business with life coaching, men of color, and just men and women of color about health, relationships, and
Right.
just life in itself. We have so many different things that we have to deal with as men, and a lot of it is not taking care of ourselves because we have a
Yes.
tendency to take care of everybody else. And I know that
Everyone else.
gender specific, but I think when you were talking earlier about men going out to get help for their health, I think we
Right.
have to change our narrative and how we think of things. And one of those
Right.
things is, it also costs something. Like
Ooh,
do we
that's
do we
good.
take that away from our family? Do we take that away from um, our social lives and things of that nature? You really have to
Mm-hmm.
reevaluate what you're doing with your finances to say
Mm-hmm.
this has to be a part of my life. And I think that's men and
Mm-hmm.
women, not just men, but
Mm-hmm.
people just in
Mm-hmm.
general. And so, even for my life, I had to figure out what's important. And
Right.
go back to the episode with the Cosby Show when he was talking to Theo about his finances, and he was like, "Do you
Right.
want this? Do you want this? You want this?" And really talking about
Yeah.
those things that you really need to have in your life and your needs
Mm-hmm.
and your wants. You need to have your
Mm-hmm.
health to work. You need to have
Yes.
your health to provide for your family. You need to have your health
Yes.
to do everything in life. And once your health is gone, you're almost, especially for a man, especially if you're used to moving and grooving like you used to doing,
Right.
at some point, you start feeling a certain way about yourself. So you have
Yes.
to almost, just like our physical is, I think sometimes we work on our physical so much and we don't do it internally.
Yes.
We work
And
on
the
how we look and
internal
we
is
got
so,
muscles and things. Yeah,
yeah.
good.
But say the internal is so imperative. It's so important. Our internal actually feeds our external. But
Hmm.
we've got this thing backwards. We look good on the outside, but
Hmm.
hurting on the inside. And
Yeah.
eventually what's on the inside shows up on the outside. I'm so
Hmm.
tired of seeing that, they were such a handsome young man. What happened? Or they were such a beautiful young woman. What happened? Because they
Hmm.
never dealt with the challenges, the trauma, the anguish. They didn't get the first things first, and that's getting our mental health and our spiritual health all together. And what we pour into this body, such as proper food, and those type of things, so that we're doing all the things that we can do to make sure we live our best lives possible. And too many of us are not living our best lives. They're not.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. As men, you have to own it and say, "Hey, it's time for this." But sometimes I can't blame men because I think that a
Right.
lot of the time we were brainwashed to just, in our upbringing, taught us to
Mm-hmm.
just
Mm-hmm.
take it,
Mm-hmm.
Marty,
Right.
take it.
Right.
And so you've
Right.
ingrained that in you. And if you don't take it, especially when you look at a sports analogy, you look
Right.
weak.
Right.
So the
But we
one
have to
thing I
have.
would say about go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Keep going. The one thing you would
The
say.
one
Go
thing
ahead.
about this is it's you finding your own self, and you don't necessarily have to go with anybody.
That part.
Nobody has to know. So I think
Right.
it's one of those things that you can go and now especially in the world of COVID, and we're getting out of COVID,
Mm-hmm.
coming out of a space and understanding like, hey, this is healthy for me to do this and to talk to somebody.
Yes.
And
We
if we
we
have more
cannot
men talking about it, we'll be
yes.
there.
Exactly. Because Korey, here's what we cannot deny the fact that we as a people were dying more and disproportionately in higher rates than everyone else. Why? Because we were not healthy. Now, I'm not saying there were some amazingly healthy people out there that caught it, that were sick, and that have maybe passed, tragically died from this thing called COVID.
Right.
But when we're looking at it, when obesity is higher in us, respiratory problems are higher in us. We cannot deny the fact that we hold this stress, we hold this tension, anxiety, depression, all of that goes in one way, but it's got to come out another way. And it comes out through our health. When we don't pay attention to our health, we don't pay attention to our wellness, it's going to come out somewhere. Yes. Hey, Paula, thank you, darling. I appreciate you switching to the other page. How are you? Good. Welcome to this one so we can see your amazing comments. Yes. Joseph. Yes. Joseph in the house. What's going on? That's right. We have y'all switch over to Mental Health Matters with Marty page because we got there. Such an interesting discussion for men and women. Paula, I totally agree. I'm tired when the research, we now have some great research out there. When I was doing my research on this topic, Korey, today, we have to say, we want to acknowledge Black men earn 75% less than their white counterparts. 75% of Black men are earning less than their white counterparts. When we look at the unemployment rate as a result of the COVID, they were in the double digits. For our white counterparts, they're still in the single digits. That's a problem. When we look at all these, when we look even at the percentage and the disproportionality of suicide and suicide ideation, that's a problem. I had one of my clients today, and we were talking. He's still grieving about his father who passed away. Now, this young man when his father passed, he was mid-20s. And his father was my age, 54 when he died. That's tragic. Because of now, there were some mental health issues involved in that. And this a young father. When I say 54, listen, the older I get, the more I keep saying, Korey, ooh, he was young. He was young. But he took his own life because of the amount of pain and also because of the mental health things that he had going on. But my heart goes out to this young man because he's kind of stuck in this cycle because he's just going, we do this, we blame ourselves. We internalize this because we did not go to our doctors for that. We did not go to, or our doctors, or we're not doing enough of integrative medicine, where the psychiatrist is talking to the medical doctor, who is talking to the therapist, who's talking to all. So now we have the best treatment plan from a holistic point of view to help our people out in that regards. Korey, what are you seeing these days now that we're going into the kind of the post-COVID mode of life?
I'm hoping that most people are coming out with a sense of urgency of going into mental health.
Yes.
Going and seeing someone, going and even at, in my professional life, I see a lot of that going. That's all we talk about with getting back into the real world. And I think that's good. I think because I'm already in it, I do it every day. And I try to have conversations every day about it. So it doesn't necessarily leave me. However, I do know it's a thing that people have a tendency to shy away from. I think they're scared of finding who they really are, for one. And once they find who they are, and see what it really is, that's the hardest part. Once they are able to find that, then they're able to, start the grieving process. Because I think with all men, we've gone through trauma, we've gone through issues and things of that nature, but we keep going. We have the stroke and we keep going. We don't stop because that's how life has taught us to do and to keep moving. And I'm not saying anything with my sisters or women, but sometimes they have a crutch. Sometimes they, or they have men or a group of women to comfort them. But if I'm as an individual man, my boy's not really talking to me. They're like, "Hey man, you'll be all right." I may have a couple of family men who talk to me, but we are on the same island when it comes to mental health and stress. right? It's
But
most men
we
aren't
have to
like that.
stop. Yeah, we have to stop normalizing trauma.
Mm-hmm.
We have to stop
Mm-hmm.
normalizing a disproportionate health care and disproportionate sickness. We have to stop normalizing obesity. We have to stop normalizing all those things that are stacked up against us and really start speaking out to us. Because let's be honest, we a lot of us, because of what we saw with George Floyd and Ahmaud
Mm-hmm.
Arbery and Breonna Taylor and all this, we're constantly re-traumatized. And now we have this trauma that still goes into our bodies, but has to escape somehow. And we don't. We a lot of times we're not healthy enough or strong. I don't want to say strong enough. We don't know proper coping skills and coping mechanisms to release all of that on us. Yes, Ladon says it this was. Yes, I tend to find myself on autopilot. See, yes, and have to make myself slow down. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
thank you. I challenged one of my young men at our session the other night. I said, "What is your relationship with yourself?" And he just sat there in silence. I said, "What's going?" He goes, "I never thought about having a healthy relationship with myself." And that so
What
many of go ahead, Korey.
What does that look like for you? Because it looks different
Ooh,
from me. You
it
know,
does. You're absolutely
you
right.
know, and I want to say this because I have some friends I've been friends with for almost 30 years or 20 years,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes when they get a free moment, they want to hang with the boys, and I understand because
Mm-hmm.
their lives with children and things of that nature, it's hectic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
I'm at the place where I don't have that, so sometimes I can get away, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I can even remember being in talking to some of my friends, and the first thing they always ask me, "Are you taking
Mm-hmm.
somebody?"
Mm.
I'm gonna say it
Mm.
again.
Okay.
Every time
Are you?
I'm going somewhere, if it's a trip or if I'm
Uh-huh.
driving up the coast somewhere, or
Uh-huh.
taking 2 hours in my car,
Uh-huh.
flying to a place with a beach, they always asking me, especially if I'm dating someone, "Are you
Right.
bringing old girl?" And I
Right.
always
Right.
say, I mean, I'm not saying I haven't done that, but
Right.
usually it's for myself,
Mm.
because
And
we've
what's the response
normalized
typically
bringing
to that?
people with. You ready? Are you lying? Yeah. At first, honestly, if they don't know me,
Right. Right.
they think I'm lying, and I say
Right.
no. I'm really taking time for me, so
Mm-hmm.
I won't go off on this person. So I will
Mm-hmm.
do a check with myself, so I can
Mm-hmm.
figure out what am I going through right now and the changes I need to
Mm-hmm.
make to be a better man
Mm-hmm.
and be a better person. And that's
Exactly.
hard, to do. And that doesn't have to be with the trip, but it could be with, isolated by yourself so that you can understand, or talk, or isolating it with other men who are like you to have conversations
Yes.
about these things
Yes.
that you feel comfortable with. Because you have to get it
Right.
out. You
Yeah,
cannot
you do.
stay inside. Because
Exactly.
then, yeah.
It's going to come out one way or the other. It's
So
going
how
to
do
come
you
out.
how do you cope with that? What would you say is, do you know yourself? Have you spent time with yourself?
I try now to pay attention to my body language. And when I'm feeling tired, when I'm feeling
Hmm.
stressed, now I have my regular routines that I do, and I've been pushing myself
Right.
for about the past
Hmm.
couple months to get up no later than 5:30 in the morning. So I have my 5:30 to
Mm.
6 o'clock. There, I'm just doing my meditation. I'm doing my getting
Yeah.
grounded,
Right. Okay.
those
All
type of
right.
things. I'm doing my praying, and then my prayer partner calls me at 6 o'clock. So he and I pray every morning with that. So those are the necessary things I need to ground myself so that I know
Right.
get prepared for that. But then I will often also I've done, in fact, MLK weekend I took I'm going to call it a staycation, but I actually went down to the beach. And just got a room for myself and spent
Hmm.
3 days with just
Mm.
Marty. People just like, you're I said, no, I needed to ground myself, get back in touch with. I walked up and down the beach, just chilled, had dinner with myself, did some people watching, journaled, and just really got grounded so that I could start doing projecting and having an idea of visioning what I wanted to accomplish in 2021. And so it's about that time for me to kind of do a mid-year self-check point as well. But here's the thing. You have to be comfortable with yourself in order to do that. And most of us aren't comfortable with ourselves for 2 or 3 days with just me and nobody. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
But then that gets back to our topic here, to health and wellness. As I started to deal with my health and wellness, before I could do any of that, I had to deal with self, dealing with myself in that, and come to grips with myself and look at myself in the mirror and said, you know what, you have not fully arrived, but I'm loving who you are.
Yeah.
And then remind myself that I am Marty Sellers, am enough. Yes. Yeah, you're right, Joseph. That's a good place. That's a good place.
Yeah.
So let's talk about these young.
It's hard to get there,
It's hard to...
Marty. I can't say that I woke up and I was doing that, 5 years ago. I mean, in the last couple of years, I've been doing it for almost 10. But it forced me because I had some trauma. And that trauma that I had, it forced me into it. And so I started being by myself, especially when, again, I've seen some of my friends go down a deep hole, and then they have some huge, they go into the trauma, but they end up going into something bigger, or having having a bad marriage, or having a divorce, or being something that's bigger than what it is because of the trauma that they haven't dealt with.
Yes.
And so a lot of times I feel like as men, instead of us talking it out and and having these conversations, hopefully we're making men feel more comfortable in having them and understanding that we've all been there.
Yes.
So I try to talk to my friends all the time about it. And we have, they know I talk about mental health all the time. So they know every time we talk on the phone, it's going to be about something. How you doing? What are you doing to make yourself better?
Yeah.
How you living? Did you work? Something for yourself, because we have a tendency to keep moving and not stop.
You're absolutely right. And that's what I love about, shout out to my boy, Trey Taylor, out there in the DMV area as well. Because his whole thing is, how you living, fam? How you doing, fam? And he says, Marty, I do that to all my brothers. One, we need to know that we are family and that you're not in this alone. And I love even what Dante Boyd is saying on here. He says about holding each other accountable and supporting each other, and learning how, as Black men, how to support one another and not be jealous of each other. We're not in competition. We're on the same team, and the team is the team of life, and helping my brother. Am I my brother's keeper? Yes. Because as you grow, Korey, and as you move up, then guess what? I get lifted in this thing as well. The whole thing that we used to talk about was how to uplift the race, how to uplift the Black man, how to remind him how amazing we are, and how the king that he is in that. And a king does not worry about his health. A king doesn't worry about their wealth. If we're truly kings, it just becomes automatic that you're thinking from a healthy point of view. If we really are kings, it's just automatic that we are doing those things necessary to maintain our kingship. In that men need a safe space in order to express and share. LaDon, you're absolutely right. We have to, and that's why I'm so grateful, Korey, for you and I and our brotherhood that we have, because we've had safe spaces for each other that we've dealt with offline and shared some very personal things, and how we're recreating this even online and doing this as well. Korey, what are some things that you've been doing here lately with helping men? Really, and I love, because your whole platform is today's men. What are you doing today for today's men?
Having the conversations. We're trying to do catch up and to get on YouTube Live like you are, and reach more men and talk about coaching and getting them comfortable with coming and having conversation about their there's situations in lives. I mean, I just had a
Right.
guy almost 2 weeks ago. We had a long conversation about something he was going through with his child's mom, and
Mm.
we had a session. I was trying to get him comfortable to even have a session, and after the session, I just talked to him offline about just
Right.
his
Right.
worth and relationship, because I felt like he didn't really understand how much he was worth.
Yeah.
He didn't understand, and he came from all women, so he was the
Mm-hmm.
only male grandchild, and of all
So the
the
only grand.
women,
Yeah.
well, all the family, he was the
Wow.
only man. And I said, brother,
Wow.
you need some other men to talk to. It's no,
Right.
you can't, and he has a little girl. I said, you can't do this
Mm.
alone. I said, you
Right.
have to. I said, I would even, I would cut your sessions. I would, basically almost doing it for free. But you need to talk to somebody now. He was a young guy, young father, and so I was like, if not,
Yep.
it's going to be, it's going to be even worse down the line. You're going to either you're going
Yeah.
to hurt somebody else, which can happen,
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to be able to be the man that that your daughter should see, because he's
Yeah,
going through
that's
some
good.
issues with his child's mom. So, I can't imagine, a lot of us come through situations like that where, it might be a female dominant family, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of men, they don't know. So who can they go to? And so
Yes.
all the women are still looking for this man to be a man, but how does he know how to be a man?
How do I? Yes, that's so true. And we find that relationships are so key.
Mm-hmm.
Especially about how do we how do we become the men that we know we desire to be without having the men around us. I love this. Says, how important are friendships with men? I have tons of friends, but my husband of 23 years barely has any. He says he doesn't
Mm-hmm.
need friends. Oh, Paula, that's a
Mm-hmm.
loaded question. I love it, Paula. I have what I call kind of my three best friends.
Right.
My boy Brent Jones, Steve Dolphin, and Vyndon Smith, and we all now live a good 2 hours away from each other. But we make it a point. Prior to COVID, we would go just
Mm-hmm.
out to dinner and hang out once a month. And
Mm-hmm.
we would it was a time that we shared what was going on in our relationships, what was going on with our
Right.
children, what was going on in our
Right.
business. And it was a time that we cherished, that we still do cherish, that it was just a time that for male friendships to come together, and we were able to bond, and I was even able to call them when I wanted to go up beside my son's head at times, like, look, y'all better come
Mm-hmm.
over here. I'm about to hurt this brother, and he gonna be homeless and everything else. And then he got to talk to them. Now, especially it's good with our children that they have another male voice sometimes to hear. And so my
Right.
son needed that sometimes. They'd be like, nephew, now you know I love you, but you got to listen to your daddy. Or nephew, what's up? Your daddy is showing you lots of love. Or even me. Okay, you got to give the brother some room to grow. So to answer
Right.
your question, Paula, I think it really depends on the man, just like it depends on the person. With women, there are some women I know have tons of girlfriends, and then there's some that I know just have a handful. Sounds like your husband's personality is like, I just need my little core group, and his might be one or two. But I definitely
Right.
believe that friendships are very vital and important. Um, Men look at them differently because we weren't told to kind of have homies like that, like you girls have that, ladies have
Right.
that, and so you ladies already have a natural built-in support system.
Mm-hmm.
We as
Yeah.
men can be very superficial because we're so used to competing that sometimes,
Right.
Korey, I don't know about you, sometimes it's hard for us to let our guard down and really trust that Korey has the best interest out for me, and he doesn't want anything because he's doing it just because this brother loves this brother, and I'm doing it, and vice
Right.
versa. And I don't want anything from you, you don't want anything from me, and we're not trying to gain. We just have a genuine love for each other. So because I love you, I want to make sure that you're doing well mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and even in your relationships. What would you say to Paula's question?
Um, just to kind of piggyback on what you said, maybe in her situation or his situation, he may have a lot of brothers. I know a lot of men who have brothers they're like their friends or around their age, so they talk to them. And some people don't have friends like that. For me, I do have 2 brothers. I also have some brothers that I call my brothers, all the time.
Right.
And so I think you're right. When you're in the mental health space all the time and you're always here to kind of hear people and try to give people positive, encouraging feedback, especially as men, sometimes, to what you were saying, sometimes men don't even know how to take it. They don't even know how to take the conversation. Like, man, no, how are you doing? You do know you're worth this. Even some of my male friends, I try to encourage them to know who you are and understand you're worth X, Y, and Z, because we're not told that as men. I think your mother tells you that when you're young and you're growing up, or but at least my mom did. But when you get older, you don't hear a lot of that positive, encouraged Black male talk anymore. I think that was something in the 70s and 80s, maybe even the 90s. But I don't hear about Black men being kings, from other women. Maybe from other races, but not our own women. That's a whole nother topic. So, but oftentimes, we used to hear that a lot. And so, I don't want to get in trouble, but yeah, I think
you're not in trouble, man.
But for us, we need to do a better job of telling each other what we're worth, especially if we don't have that around. That's good. And making them understand why. Because I'm assuming just like how we have friends, I only hang with a certain type of man.
Exactly.
I don't hang with certain. I only hang with a certain type of men. Men who are going to make me grow. Men who are doing things. Men who are on the same page. We keep each other accountable. Other men, I don't really talk to them. I can't talk to them because we're not on the same thing. So I would say we have to do a better job of encouraging each other. We'll talk about, superficial stuff like you said, but as far as, mental health, your health, things of that nature, then the conversation starts going down. You're like, no, what's going on? How you doing? How you feeling? A friend of mine called me about a medical thing, maybe like 2 months ago. And I was like, bro, yeah, it's okay. Yeah, I'm good. Like, you're not weak because of that. Yeah, I understand. I've been through it too. It's all right. It's just one of those things that we have a tough time talking about because it's a sign of weakness. And weakness. I think the weakness are for those who don't know who they are, who are afraid of that. That's being weak. If you don't know who you are, you're afraid of something. So that's a sign of weakness. But
because we don't celebrate our own strengths.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. But you're willing to.
So I was just saying it's a tough thing to kind of look that in the face when you're trying to figure out certain things. And, I'm not perfect at it. I still trying to work on it every single day. But you have to just do it, especially when it comes to your mental health, like having conversations, even when I'm dating, Marty, I always ask this question, right? I always ask women, who are your friends? Who do you hang out with? And I look at their friends. Is their community positive? Is their community uplifting? Is their community married? Is their community believe in relationships? Is their community believe in health and wellness and things of that nature? Because if it's not, then you're defined by who you hang around. Yeah. At least in my book. And so I think you can tell a lot about a person based off of their friends and who they're hanging around with. And so for me, I really do take a onus of that. Mental health of Marty, Mario, Keith, Antron, Jay, like all those guys. I always try to make sure good men who are going to help me and uplift me. The only thing that iron can sharpen is itself, and it's the strongest metal. And so iron sharpens iron. So I'm always trying to be around brothers who are going to make me better.
It's a changing of the mindset. That's why I say all the time, stop the stinking thinking. And what I mean by that, we have to change. We have to do a 180, not a 360. You know, we say, "Who do a two full three?" Now, if you do a 360, you're going right back in the same direction you tried to turn from. We got to do a 180, y'all. Learn, do your math. 180. We got to make a turn, a U-turn, and change the way we think. Change the way we act. Yes, Jerron, you're absolutely right. Change the way we talk to each other. So when we do that, shameless plug, we stop the stinking thinking. This is my journal here. It's on my website, y'all.
Hey.
Yes. There's the journal. Well, the book is coming out in September, so stay tuned. Stop the stinking thinking with that. So we do that by making sure we are not returning to the same, and I'm going to say it this way, we don't return to the same vomit that we did and the vomit that's around us. We have to take our minds from the dump truck and put it in, I'm putting mine in Beverly Hills. I'm putting mine in Pacific Palisades. I'm putting mine in in Malibu, because I want to be on the hill looking over the ocean and seeing all the greatness that's before me. And so we have to change our minds and take it from the stinking place and put it in the clean place. And that's intentional. I say this all the time. Successful people are intentional people. And that intent requires a lot of work. You have to make the choice. Today, I am not going to, Daryl, I'm starting to sound like Portia. Today, I will show up. We have to come with that mindset. Today, I'm going to show up with a different mindset. Today, I'm going to show up with a different attitude. Today, I'm going to show up and believe in myself. And then when I start doing that, it's going to, as I start to change my mindset, like we said during the show, it's going to come out on the outside.
Right.
You can actually tell someone a lot of times where they're at mentally in less than 10 minutes of a conversation. Normally within 5 minutes, I can summarize where they're actually like, okay.
Right.
You know where they're at. Yeah. Korey, what has been some of the biggest challenges for you, and how did you change your mindset? Be intentional about your healing. Exactly, LaDon, we have to be. How did you change your mindset to even want to even go in this whole path of helping other brothers in this thing called mental health? Because, most of us, mental health wasn't discussed in our households then.
My whole path with the whole Tomorrow's Men thing, that's something that my mom came up with in the 70s. And so just hearing some of the other mentors, older brothers that I had that actually were a part of that program that my mom started, just listen to them, Marty, like honestly, listening to them and talking to a lot of my other friends and how we talk about like us hurting. We don't talk about it. It's like, we talk about women, we talk about cars, we talk about finances. And then we start talking about health, and then the conversation starts to go down, and you know why, because that's not something we talk about. It's almost like one of those things in the Black community that we just don't talk about. So I think for me, a lot of people know this about me, but me having a parent pass away at an earlier age, my mom passed at 59. So, and me also being the person, that had to get on the phone with the doctor and make a decision. Do we keep her on this dialysis, or do we just let her live her life out? And so at 27, having to deal with that, that was a lot of things that that went through my head. And so I didn't know anything about, mental health. Therapists weren't affordable for me at that time. I was just trying to live in DC, but really trying to focus on slowing down, working out. My physical health was very important to me at that time, because that's what helped me get through the day. But
that's
honestly,
good.
I had a lot of mentors. I had a lot of I'm the type of person that would go seek the person that looks, like they're in their 50s and their 60s and they knew it. So I'm very humble to just sit in front, and a lot of my community service growing up was in nursing homes.
Okay.
And I would just sit and again, when I say nursing homes, it was assisted living homes. Everybody wasn't sick, but just to sit there and just soak in the information from the wisdom and to listen to what they did. And it was almost like I was a little kid again, listening to those things, especially like I would always try to find people who I wanted to be like, who I wanted to mimic,
Right.
and to get
Right.
those resources to make me be who I needed to be.
Right.
And so I always looked at those people and I said, hey, this is what I feel like I need to do to help and support men just like me, because we're almost like we're afraid to talk about it. We're
Yes,
afraid
we are.
to let people know that, you know, yeah, I did have you know, it's like one of my boys, he has his dad just had a heart attack, and maybe like 2 weeks ago, and just him talking about it, you know, I know it was difficult for him to have that conversation with his dad. So me just talking to him and just trying to help him get through it, because again, I think that we are blessings for other Black men or men of color, because we have it in us to spread out. So if we are able to do this, if we can touch one person, 2 people, 3 people, so they then can touch somebody else, we can make this thing normalize a little bit more.
Right.
So we can do what our parents necessarily didn't do, and provide the support that we have to make sure that this is normalized in our communities. So, but we have to do it. One thing I would say about the younger people, you know, 28 and under, I think that they're getting it a little bit more, and therapy is becoming more of a routine and normalized thing. But folks right after that, it's still kind of like, it's hard to grasp, to get men who are 30, 40 years old, who are doing their things and knocking it out in their career. But as far as inside, they're dealing with things with their ex-wife. They're dealing with things with their parents. They're dealing with things at their job, and they don't know how to talk about it because they're the ones that everybody goes to.
We have a lot of work to do. And that's why we have to continue to share and create these platforms so that men can come and talk. Men can definitely express what they're going through, so they don't have that, what I call that Coca-Cola syndrome, and you just kind of eventually implode and explode because we have not learned how to effectively deal with our emotions or anything else like that. Korey, you're right on target with that. Definitely. You talked about, and let's talk about some of the wellness now. Why is it imperative?
One of your brothers said
Go ahead.
earlier, he was like, I forgot who mentioned it earlier, but he said that a lot of our Black men, we have a tough time coming together. And that is definitely true. And you mentioned it earlier about, you know, we may be hating on each other or whatever that might be. But, you know, my thing is, it comes from a poem, is just like, you know, it takes a man to stand and cheer while the other fellow stars.
Wow.
So that's what men really do, you know. So really thinking about those type of things, that, you know, like, if Marty's doing well, you know, how can I support him? How can he support me? And we both come up. Yeah. And that's what most cultures do. They support one another, especially when they come to America. You know, they find their little groups and they manifest and they take off. And I'm like, well, that's how we should be.
Yes. But we don't know how to be that because we have not learned how to celebrate ourselves. And I can't celebrate you if I'm insecure about myself. And that's why it's so important that we get through this trauma. That's why it's so imperative that we get through this. But we have to change. You are big in you do health. Right before the show, you was out there doing your bike ride, man. Why is health so important? Especially when the statistic I showed earlier said 36%. Yes, 36% of Black men are considered obese. Why is that now? Health and exercise so important, because there's a direct linkage to, in most cases, your physical health and your mental health.
Man, for me, I'm just going to be straight up with you. It goes a little bit deeper. Diabetes runs in my family. I've had some folks who've had strokes in my family. My dad had a stroke in his mid 50s. Wow. My mom had a stroke when she was in her 40s. So I'm always, so you asked me about this mental health thing, bro. It's like, it goes even deeper than most, because I'm trying to be very conscious of it. If I feel a certain way, I start to take a step back and say, hey, what is this? You know, I don't care what's going on, because I forgot with our jobs and how we move every day. They'll find somebody. They'll find somebody in
They'll
2 days.
replace you. Yes.
They'll replace you. So
Yes,
if you
they
don't
will.
take care of yourself, then nobody else will. So that's why this
Right.
mental thing, when you're talking about, when I heard you at the beginning of the broadcast, and this stuff that goes on in our heads, I spoke about it on
Yes.
live the other day with that
Right.
this anxiety or the stress. After a while, those things start to become medical issues,
Yes.
not mental anymore. It's medical issues.
No.
So that's what it goes to the
No.
brother who had the stroke. It goes to people who having diabetes. So I try to be very conscious of those things, so that I can, live a long, healthy life.
I hear you, because next week on the show, I'm so excited. You talked about health issues. Don is coming on. Daryl, I can't think Don's last name. He's the writer of the book called shoot. Now I'm blank with it. Talk about acid reflux. He's called the acid reflux guy. And he talks about, and we're going to talk about next week, how anxiety, and acid reflux and irritable bowel syndrome, IBS, there's a direct correlation between anxiety and acid reflux, anxiety and irritable bowel syndrome. He said, and he had suffered with. Thank you, Don Daniel. Thank you for that, the producer in my ear, Don Daniel. And he's talking about that next week. So I'm very excited, talking from a Black male perspective and telling us that how he suffered with this, that even the medical doctors were stunned by it, taking medicine and still could not do anything with his acid reflux or irritable bowel syndrome. It got so bad that he almost could not leave his house. And it created so much anxiety. When he took the anxiety away, the acid reflux was gone. When he took the anxiety away, the IBS. So I'm excited about that conversation we're going to have with him next week. So that's a shameless plug for next week's show. Y'all, you got to get in here and see it. With Don Daniel is going to be absolutely bomb. But you're absolutely right. When we have, because high blood pressure runs in my family, diabetes runs in my family. So I know as much as I might like Chinese food, and as much as I might like, I don't want to be stereotypical, some fried catfish or something, I can't just eat it every day. I got to have some baked salmon. I got to have some fresh fruit and vegetable. Say fresh fruit and vegetable. Yes. Not the canned all the time, fresh. And fresh tastes so much better. And I have to make sure that I am doing some sort of semblance of an exercise with that, because it then affects my mental health, which affects my physical health as well. In that, man, yes, man. Oh, can you believe our hour is almost up, man? Listen, time runs by way too fast. It definitely does. Korey, I can't thank you enough for always be willing to come on the show. We got to get back on our IG in about a couple more weeks. We'll be out there. We're usually on Thriving Thursdays.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
So, definitely. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I'm saying, how can the people get a hold of you? How can our audience, if they're not already following you, how can they follow you and continue to remain a part of your fan club? Because I'm a major fan of yours, my brother.
Right. Just continue to follow me on Tomorrow's Men, at Tomorrow's Men on Instagram, and at Tomorrow's Men on Facebook as well. And my website's the same thing, tomorrowsmen.com. If you want to listen to some of my podcasts, I'm on iTunes, Apple iTunes at Brother to Brother Show, the Brother to Brother Show. So, okay. I think we've done a few of those together, and I have a lot more men talking about relationships, talking about getting over a marriage, getting how to come out of the marriage, how to be supported, some of the things that they do to be, how do you know she's the one, having relationship talks with men, and how you find, the one to be with. And so we love having those conversations because they're healthy. We are not talking down about Black women at all.
That's right.
Everything is about encouraging. We're talking about ourselves, but also encouraging and talking about how important we are, because we don't do a lot of that, of empowering each other to be the type of men that we need to be. So.
Yeah, that's so true, man. You becoming the relationship expert, my brother, with helping us single Black men how to get it together, and helping the married ones and those in relationship how to keep it together. It's work with that, man.
Yeah.
I can't thank you enough for your continued um, putting forth the knowledge and creating safe spaces and working with we as Black men to make sure that we are living our best lives, man. Thank you so much. Continue what you're doing. Korey, you know you're going to be back. We'll definitely be seeing
Yes,
you
sir.
real soon in the near future, y'all. If you have not been subscribing to my brother, Korey Morris, at Tomorrow's Men, please do check him out as he continues to do great work and great coaching for our men, old and young, to help us live our best lives by not remaining stuck in our past. Well, listen, y'all, thank you again for joining us on this episode of Mental Health Matters with Marty. As we wrap up to a close, we want to remind you, listen, again, please check out my website at mentalhealthmarty.com, mentalhealthmarty.com, where you will find some amazing merchandise. And I'm dropping a new shirt coming out in August. And it is bomb. Listen, you're going to want it. I'm loving it already. So I'll be wearing it on the next show. It is so cool. So make sure you check out some of your merchandise on the website to help you along your mental health journey. And like I shared in my shameless plug with that, please check out the journal here of Stop the Stinking Thinking. This is a journal that's going to accompany the book that's coming out in September as well. Please check out our podcast. We'll be having some new episodes drop in August, but please check out our podcast. We have 40 other episodes if you have not been listening to that you can check out right now on Mental Health Matters with Marty. And you'll find that on your favorite podcasting streaming source. But if you are an Apple listener, please give us a 5-star rating and as well give us a wonderful review to encourage other people to listen to it as well. And also become an I Matter member of Mental Health Matters with Marty by texting I Matter to 855-717-1272. Again, that's 855-717-1272. In this journey called life, too many men are continuing to secretly suffer in the shadow of shame. We want to take these statistics that I talked about at the early part of this show, that 30% of us are more likely to die from heart failure, that 60% of us are more likely to die from a stroke, that 75% of us lack a proper health insurance, that that Black men are 9 times more likely to die from AIDS, and that 36% of us are obese. We have a choice. We have an opportunity to change those numbers. So as I always say, we have to speak up. We got to speak out. We got to live. Why? So that we can enjoy our best lives. See you next time. Take care.